off late, like Will Smith slapping someone and like the same thing happens.
Right.
Like imagine Will Smith there slapping and like science spins and then Max spins. And welcome to F1 Fanfiction. This is all the seriousness you get from this. That's the intro, but it's gonna be a banterful F1 race review episode, which is what this podcast is about. If you are new here, go ahead and hit that follow button anywhere on the socials that you get your podcasts from. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating if you like it, and if you don't, then give us a 4-star on your app reviews of your podcasts. With that said, let's get into the episode. We are your hosts. I am Akash.
And I'm Sarang.
And just thoughts about the race, Sarang, there. Like, it was a dryish but a fun race for me. I had fun, but I was bored. How was it for you? Like, thoughts on the race?
I think the best way to capture it is that I was like really on the edge of my seat till like the 3/4 of the race, I would say, or 2/3 of the race, and then I just like snoozed off. Like right up till where the drama was going on, where things were shifting around. I think it was pretty fun. But once things settled down, once team orders started coming into the picture, it started getting a little boring. But I don't know what. I mean, a lot of people are talking this. Was this probably the most interesting Spanish GP in the recent history, at least?
Yeah, in the recent history, for sure, because like, and especially like with 2022, right, like with the changes that have come in and everyone's still trying to figure out what's happening, Merck sort of starting to come back this race, recent time for sure, best ever, that's question mark, because like they showed Pastor Maldonado somewhere in there, and I'm like, he's won a GP there, which I would have never expected him to win and stuff. So I think like that for me was an interesting race back, I think like 2012 or 2011 or something like that. But yeah, recent times for sure, this was a great race.
So I think there's also this weird stat that I think since 2018, if I'm not wrong, like Merck and Red Bull are the only teams that have gotten to the podium.
So let me just first put this out there. You heard it first on F1 Fanfiction that Merck is going to be back. And this time, like, sure, the Australian P3 for Russell was also somewhat of a comeback. But like, I call this as a true comeback, right? Like, let's dive into it, like, through the whole race as it happened.
Akash, you know what? I was going to ask you, did you scratch the lottery this week at all?
Yeah, right? Like, me being this thing and more being on the podium. Sure, yeah. Let's call it that.
Yeah. But, like, I think, like, your theory held up in the sense that they got those upgrades. Like, they have been talking about, like, bringing it in Spain for a long time now. And I think overall we can see, like, in fact in FP1, FP2 as well, it was pretty evident that they are pretty fast now, and as well the car is not bouncing around as much as before. So a little bit.
And this got called out in like a commentary somewhere, like they was I think like one of the qualifying sessions where they said like porpoising at some level is completely resolved on Mercedes end. Now all they need to go back and do is focus on the engine and like the pace.
Yeah, right. Yeah, and I think we could clearly see that. I mean, with the whole race that Hamilton had today, and of course George as well. I mean, think about it. Hamilton, of course, had some bad luck with Magnussen like crashing into him, and I don't know what K-Mag was doing, because I feel it was entirely his fault. I'm a little surprised he was not given a penalty, honestly speaking, because he did turn into him.
I think like he gave himself the penalty, right? Like he wandered off and then went P20 and then
he stayed there for most of the race. That's true.
But I guess Hamilton's what? Sorry.
And I guess that's right. That's why they probably didn't give him the penalty, because he anyways gave it to himself.
Like I was seeing Hamilton's on board on this
Uh-huh.
restart replays, and everything's going fine. He's taking a good
Uh-huh.
line. There's no competition. There's nothing. And then all of a sudden there is this tap, and I'm like, what just happened? Like, why did K-Mag all of a sudden do? I mean, this being Latifi or Mazepin.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh,
Yeah.
wait a second. K-Mag is in Mazepin's car.
Does Mazepin spirit still lives there?
Exactly. Is this the ghost of lingering Mazespin out there?
Oh, okay, I have a theory. So apparently, if you go and check Mazepin's Twitter bio, it still says Formula One driver, and I think that is why, because his spirit still lives in the car.
Still lives there. Yes. Yes.
You heard it first on F1 Fanfiction.
As everything else. Yes.
Exactly.
Oh,
but
there was a launch of a start, right? Like I feel like
Mhm.
Russell, for example, right? Like Russell
Yeah.
had a launch of a start. Sure, at the end of that first lap, he maintained the position that he started off on the grid. But like I
Mhm.
think the start was just too brilliant. Even if you see
Yep.
Perez, like you can see, right? Like he just bounced to the right and then like launched.
Yeah.
So both of those.
Oh
cars,
yeah,
they
that was pretty awesome actually. I was quite surprised to see that. Yeah, and he just like shot into the traffic and then like tucked himself behind. I think was it Russell?
Yes.
I think right.
Yeah,
And yeah.
They maintained their positions, but it was just brilliant the way they launched
Yep.
in.
Yep. I think like pretty much everybody at the start of the grid, except for Sainz, of course, had a good start. I don't know what. I think Sainz got sleeping or something. He's just having a
competing
miserable
with that
time.
Haas
Anyways.
number 2 to be the new.
Yeah, exactly. I think this time again we had that graphic about Charles and Max for the restart, and I think Charles won out this time in terms of the action time.
Right.
But I guess George had a good one as well. I think Perez as well had a good one. Yeah, overall good starts, I guess. Though one thing I have to point out, Hamilton, of course, he had the bad luck and he almost quit, didn't he?
Yeah, right. Like I don't know. So now the non racetrack Hamilton fan in me is saying like, yeah, he is just being a cranky baby and be like, yeah, I want to quit because I'm not winning, sort of thing. But I feel like there is this overall power unit issue that's floating around on the track, and obviously we'll come to this as a whole segment. But I think Hamilton, knowing everything that he knows about his car and stuff, I feel like he knows he has a good car, and rather than pushing the car, he'd rather retire the car to save that engine.
That's true. And that's the thing, right? Like I was a bit surprised when he said that, because of all the drivers out there, like he is not one of those who usually is ready to quit, right? Like he's very persistent. But like I think Bono gave him some encouragement, and I think then he just went hammer time throughout the race after that.
And that was a good encouragement, right? Like, because they were like, oh, we actually have a point to the shot to the point, P8 is what we are targeting.
Right.
And then dude coming P19 to finishing P5, that's just,
that's
the Hamilton, right? Like, that's the Hamilton.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I was a little saddened to see that, he was actually trying out a different strategy if we saw during the start of the race. Everybody else was on softs and Hamilton was the only driver on mediums. So he had gone into the race with a different strategy. He knew from the start that he has the pace and he probably has the, machinery to maybe even get on the podium. So, or who knows, win the race. Because honestly speaking, the pace at which he was driving, like, it was insane. Like, so the funny thing is, while I was watching the race, I didn't realize that Hamilton is driving so well because they didn't show him much. Like, I remember he was like P19 for a while. And then slowly he like overtook a few people. He reached around P17 or P16. And then all of a sudden, in the middle of the race, I saw the leaderboard and I was like, he's at P6. I'm like, wait, what happened? Like, how did he get there?
Yeah, he shot through the ranks pretty quick. No, but you're right. Like, while they should have showed him, first of all, right? Like, that's poor race direction to some extent, because that's what got me bored to a level, because all they showed was Russell yesterday.
Yeah.
And that was a good fight, but that went on for so long that we missed out on so many other opportunities there.
Yep.
But yeah, man, overall, loved how this guy's driven. You were mentioning something about this, right? Like you were saying that if that incident with Magnussen wouldn't have happened, he would have been on podium because there was like a time difference in terms of like how so what was that? I forgot.
Yep. So basically, I think on the radio, I don't remember, was it Bono or was it Toto? Either of them came onto the radio at the end and basically told him that he started off the race like 40 seconds off the lead and ended the race around like 30 seconds. So he basically, even after crashing out, he made up 10 seconds, which is so good. And I think, without the crash, without the extra pit stop that he had to take at the start of the race, who knows, he could have even probably won the race at that pace which he was going on. So super impressive.
So this was something like Hamilton back in Brazil, I think last year or last year, where he just launched out of somewhere.
So actually, there's another theory about it. Sorry to interrupt you, but there's another theory about it. The dialogue that he said about saving the engine, right? So a lot of people are speculating that maybe they were running at a higher engine mode for Hamilton. And that is why he probably thought that it would be a good idea to skip this race, because if they're running at a higher engine mode, they might damage it more as well. And
you know what, that also explains that radio message on like the penultimate lap of him letting Sainz by, because if he doesn't, then they're gonna kill the engine and they won't even finish the race.
Exactly. Yep.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I think that might hold true.
That's interesting then in that case, because at one point it looks like they are back, but then at the second end it looks like there's still stuff everyone wants to figure out. You know what though, as much as I love Merc coming back, I don't want them to get like overly good, because then you lose. Because at this point, like the brilliant part about 2022 season has been the battle that's going on. Like there's a good back and forth. And like a three-way back and forth, that's just going to pump up the entertainment. Like if it becomes like Merc dominance or Ferrari dominance or Red Bull dominance, then it makes it boring again.
Hey, by the way, I have to point this out. Was the dash on, like the dashboard on Russell's car, complementing the car or something? What was going on there?
Oh, dude, yeah, you're referring to the cool car thing, right? I've never seen that ever. Like, I don't know what was going on there.
Yeah, I was like, I know it's a cool car, but why the warning about it?
Cool car warning.
Yeah, but I guess that again ties into the same theory that they probably were running a higher engine mode, because that warning was pretty absurd considering that there was no car ahead of him, and that's what George said as well, that like I'm driving in the clean air, why am I getting this warning?
He was
makes no sense. Yeah.
I don't know what the radio engineering feedback was to that, but he was surprised too. Like, why am I being asked to cool down the car?
Right. Yep.
But like on the front, right? Like, I mean, sure, Russell and Merc were on the front. Russell was like literally leading the race for a few laps.
At a point he was. Yep.
But the true leader overall over the weekend, I still feel, was Leclerc. I mean, Max won the race, Russell was leading, sure. But like, I think that Ferrari has gotten itself into something where Leclerc could have won the race if not for the issue. Overall, I feel like with the final result in hindsight, it's like Ferrari was just being Ferrari last night.
Yeah. And Charles being Charles, I guess. Like, because he was clearly
practicing for next weekend.
Yeah. And his practice goes on from the last weekend, because if I don't know if you had seen this, but there was this clip floating around where he had participated in some Monaco
the vintage car
race
thing
or something like that. Yeah. He crashed out Niki Lauda's car. And then this race again, of course, he had the engine failure. I mean, not his fault, but still, it's just so funny. I don't know. It just,
so the funny thing there,
like, we couldn't come up with these storylines even if we wanted to write it. It just writes itself, right?
And the funny thing is, like, when he crashed, right? Like when he crashed Niki's car, you could sort of not see, but you could imagine like a gasp from everyone, like, oh fuck, he crashed a vintage car. And then the commentators come to save the day by saying like, we've seen a number of accidents in this car, but this is the first one after a number of years. And I'm like, okay, that's lowering the blow at this point for sure.
Yeah, man. I guess maybe it's either that he's just getting his crashes out early so that he can maybe win his home race finally, or rather complete his home race finally.
Let's get a
Who
bet
knows?
on. Like, I bet you a beer. I bet you a
Okay.
beer that he's not going to finish the next race.
All right, sure. I'll take it up. I guess this might be the first race that he finally finishes.
Oh man, I'd gladly lose a beer, but yeah.
Yeah, but regardless, I think Charles was performing so well this weekend. I mean, bad luck for him, but as we mentioned, like he got off the line beautifully. Like his reaction time was faster. He covered Max very well. Held on to the race lead, and of course, his engine decided to commit suicide. But
but your point
otherwise,
on him covering off Max, right? I feel like, and I've seen like, it's an observation since Saudi, right? Maybe this has been going on for a while now, but I feel like he knows beautifully how to hold Max off. And I don't know if this goes back from their experience as karting together. Like, he does this very beautifully.
Yeah. In fact, at points, I think that he does it better than Hamilton as well, because I think it's that they go back so far back that they know each other's driving style so well by now that I think, he just kind of handles him very well.
Right. And I think like we saw a flavor of it. And obviously this is the first time because Russell's not been in that contention ever. But like we saw a flavor of it between Russell and Max too. Because that too was like brilliant defending from Russell, right? Like, and again, this is probably again back from their karting days, because all these trio, quattro, whatever you want to call it, like even Lando, if he gets up in the mix, I think like it's going to be the same battle when they all club together.
Yep. Yeah. I mean, of course, like Max had a handicap while fighting with George. So like, I give that to him. Like without his DRS, he was, probably, I don't know what was going on with that.
Anyways, it's one of those memes.
Talking about handicaps.
No, go ahead.
Talking about handicaps, what was Sainz doing?
I think I said this right in this episode already. Like, he's trying to fight with K-Mac for that ghost of Mazepin lingering around on the track somewhere.
Man, yeah. Home race, I had expected that he might, really do something. He did do something. That's that.
His usual. I think even on the commentators, like Science spins off. Okay, yeah, sure. Move on. Let's move
on. Yeah. In today's news, Science spins. Okay.
The only good part was at least he had a good recovery from there. So that's something. Yep.
Some brownie points for Ferrari. I mean, they lost one driver, but at least the second car finished for P4, I guess, right?
P4, yes.
Yeah, so not a total loss for them. But regardless, I think Red Bull overtook both the championship leads now, so that's there.
Yes, and I think like that's speaking to some consistency there with the Ferrari engine now. Like it's how ironical that like the role reversals have happened, because like starting of the season we saw Red Bull engine reliability issues. We did see a flavor of it during Q3 yesterday.
That's right. Yeah.
But Ferrari now in that mix, and Charles was vocal about it. I think like in the post-race press interview where he was like, we're doing so well and we can't just be losing it in this way. Which is fair enough, right? Like, because they genuinely, after like years, have a good shot at that championship,
right?
And do it early on before like Red Bull and Mercedes catch up. It's like do as fast as you can, sort of thing.
That's true, man. I think it's heartbreaking for any driver that like after you put in everything, like it all goes away because of reasons that you have absolutely no control over.
Exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I think overall, I think it is becoming a theme of 2022, I guess, because like Red Bull, of course, we saw in the first few races, Ferrari, as you mentioned. And I think there was another Ferrari power car that had an issue, right? I think, was it Zhao? Zhao, right? Yeah, exactly. And also Mercedes as well. I mean, they didn't DNF, but still the warnings were there. So,
they were gonna.
Yep, exactly. So, yeah, I don't know.
And
I think it's just that. Good.
Coming into the weekend, I was like talking to a friend of mine too about this, and my predictions were like Leclerc doesn't finish P1, and then she goes like, probably then you're saying Max is gonna be P1, and I'm like, no, Red Bull actually does not even finish, because like I had definite issues with them, like based on how Max car performed in Q3, and they had that engine question mark. So like Red Bull never finishes, Leclerc is not P1. And then I don't care, sort of thing.
Yeah, honestly, every time Max's radio comes on, I always start imagining that, okay, he's going to say losing power.
Yeah. It's the 2021 version of my tires are gone.
Yeah, man. Well, I guess you set up the runway for flying into our memes, I guess.
Sure, let's do this.
So let's get some fresh hot memes.
Sure. Meme section. One of these days, I promise I'm gonna do like one of those like floating text that goes super fast, like meme section.
All right, here goes nothing.
What do we have as the first one? Oh, we've got animation this time. Fancy.
That's right. All right, so let's take a look at the first one. And I love this one. And there has been so much drama about this.
This whole weekend.
People who are on audio. Yeah, that's right. People who are on audio, basically Max on top of Hamilton. Don't think dirty things. Max's car on top of Hamilton's car. At Monza, which was 9-ish months back, right? And it actually was
it was.
And then here we have the green Red Bull. That's the Aston Martin, which is basically a copycat of the Red Bull down below. So I love this one.
There are multiple flavors of this whole copy meme, but like I think like this one tops it for me.
Yeah. And the timeline matches so perfectly, right? Like that's the
someone whoever's thought about this. I don't know where we got this image from, but like whoever's thought about this brilliant thinking back, like nine-ish months back.
Yeah, that's right. All right, let's go on to the next one.
So Charles Leclerc saying like this has been the worst DNF in my career, and this is like the Simpsons. Homer Simpson sort of meme that you might have seen. Charles Leclerc saying this has been the worst DNF in my career so far. And Homer Simpson saying next week Monaco's GP, which is the reference to like so far.
Yeah, this has been the worst DNF of your career so far this year. So far. Don't get too cocky. The next one has to be nobody, and then the text says Hamilton after dropping back to P19 after contact with K-Mag, and then the photo is of basically somebody quitting the F1 game. Are you sure you want to quit to main menu?
Dude, but is this radio message for real? Like, is that what he said?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he pretty much. I mean, he didn't say this, but. Oh, that thing. Oh, right. I've also added a Photoshop here. Right. Yeah, I totally forgot about that.
But is that a Photoshop or is that what he said?
Yeah, it's like, a Photoshop. So, okay. Yeah, there's a radio pop-up right next to the meme saying that, guys, fuck this shit, man. I want to go home. I can totally imagine saying him that.
Just paraphrased his words in a better way. I get it.
That was the essence of it anyways. So,
What do we have?
All right, the last one, I think. Come on, man. Yep. So, firsts everybody's first. It's the classic man waiting to get hanged with the caption first time, and that's basically Bottas saying to Perez, "Is this your first time for team orders?"
Oh, dude. Oh,
Yeah, I
man.
think it was his initiation into the second role. I guess today was it. Like it was a reality check for Perez.
It
That
was.
yeah.
But you've set this up perfectly, right? Like this our last meme, and next section we want to get into is the drama at Red Bull, right? And I don't wanna call it exactly like Malaysia Sepang. I think like 2011 was it, or 2010? Um, Vettel Weber multi 21.
Yeah.
It just reminded me of that.
Yeah, man, it was yeah. I mean, I felt bad for him. Like it was his race to win. Like he deserved
was.
it. I mean, Max fucked up, right? Like he made a mistake. And oh yeah, by the way, at the same exact spot as Sainz. I think that was just Mazepin's spirit lingering around at that turn T4. I think Mazepin's spirit was the one that was blowing the wind there, probably.
Yeah, right. Like, oh, technically there's a gust of wind that's throwing these cars off like a tailwind.
Yep.
Sure,
Right.
we know now. We know now.
Yeah. And it was too funny to see as well, actually speaking. Like, Sainz spun at that spot, and then just after, I think it was just few laps after, right? I think not too far away. I think it was like
Yeah, just a lap or two behind.
Yeah. And then Max spins as well.
As a meme, don't you think it's one of those memes where you know how you have something happening in loop over different scenarios, and it's like Max either kicking the car or off late, like Will Smith slapping someone, and like the same thing happens.
Right.
Like imagine Will Smith there slapping, and like Sainz spins and then Max spins.
Yeah, I can see that. It almost was like Mario Kart where somebody like dropped a banana peel there.
It was. That's true too. Someone should make these memes, yeah. It
Yeah,
was.
Right. But man, Max is really living the WDC life, right? Like he's complaining throughout the race. Man, there was so much drama going on between GP and him. It was so fun to watch. I think they were like quibbling like a couple, and basically at one point, I think Max was of course frustrated with the DRS issue that he had, and it was very funny to watch as well. Like he was pressing the button and the DRS was shutting off automatically. And I think at one
but like this too is that meme where this guy is cycling and then he pokes his own front wheel with a thing, and he's like, oh, these roads are so bad. It's that sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
His own car. Or DRS is not working.
Yeah, man. Exactly. I don't know what was going on. I'm pretty sure it was not all Max who was doing it. I'm pretty sure there was some mechanical issue with the DRS as well. But apparently, like, basically what GP was telling him constantly was that, you know, you're pressing the button too many times. Just press it after the curve so that, you know, like, so that it stays on. But yeah, it was pretty hilarious to like see Max losing it, saying like I'm pressing the button 50 fucking times.
And I'm pretty sure right on the opposite end of the pit wall, Perez's race engineer is going like, man, what a tool, let my guy win.
Exactly. Oh yeah, and the radio by Perez as well, right? I think when Max, rather not at the end, way before, when Max was trying to overtake Russell and he was having issues with, you know, his DRS. This guy's closing in and he's getting near. I think he was like 1.5 seconds behind Max at that point, and he's like, you know, hello, team orders, where are they? You know?
Yeah, and he did say like, I'm faster than both of them, like I can go by. And it's true because like, okay, Russell hadn't pitted then. God knows how he was still fighting Max off, but he hadn't pitted then. Between Max and Perez has had a pit stop, and it was somewhat of an undercut on his own teammate because he had better tires, and he was rightful to say like, I have better pace because he had warmer, better tires at that point.
Definitely, yeah.
And we saw that. Like, as soon as Max was off, like, the overtake that Perez got on Russell, like, it was like, this is how it should have
Cakewalk, right? Yeah. Man, and it was, I mean, Red Bull somehow, handled it well there because they pitted Max, so they kind of avoided that situation altogether of using team orders. So I mean, fair play to them on doing that. But Perez, man, he was on fire. Made no mistakes throughout the race. Held his own. I think played the team game as well. And of course, I think it was a heartbreak for him. Like a lot of Perez fans are pissed off about it.
So that too, right? Like he's played the team game. Let's talk about this. So after the race, they are going in that classic Ford Le Mans winning over Ferrari way of like together, sure, whatever. But there was this radio message where it's like, let's not talk now. We'll talk later.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, okay, sure, this guy needs a contract renewal, so he's gonna comply at this point. But out of everyone who switched teams over last year, like Ricardo, he's not doing good. Sainz, just kidding, somewhere off on skates.
Whatever, yeah.
He's the only one who sort of like made Helmut Marko prove wrong race over race that he shouldn't have gone off, and like a great decision made of keeping him in the team. The challenge is now going to be like the multi-21 sort of situation where Perez is equally going to get good at fighting for that championship.
Yep.
And they don't have a backup driver. Like if they let him go, who takes his seat?
Exactly. Who they don't have anybody. That's true. And it's complicated, man. Like at one point, of course, all of these drivers are, fighting for their own benefit as such, they are like teammates, but at the end of the day, everybody wants to win. But I really like a perspective that one of our listeners put on Twitter. Like they replied, I think there was this post where we had replied on Twitter where we said basically totally agree, they should have let him race. It's just the 6th race in the season, right? So it's too early to decide who's going to win the championship. To which I think it was one of our listeners who's Parikshit, who basically said that at the end of the day, and of course I'm paraphrasing here, but at the end of the day, these are highly paid employees at the end of the day of constructors. And I mean, think about it, if your boss tells you to do something and if you don't agree to do that, they have the right to fire you, right? So you're getting paid to do a job, and his job, unfortunately, whatever it is to be the second driver. And
interesting. It's a different type of a desk job.
Yep.
At the rate Parikshit Gary. That's the handle if any of our listeners want to go out and follow him and check him out. But yeah, I like that perspective. I think he's, in a corporate sense of way, he's not wrong.
Yeah, that's right. So fair play. And of course, he played the team game. He didn't argue much. He basically didn't cause any issues. Just let him by when he was ordered to. So yeah, fair play to Perez as well.
I think the only good part of Max being Max was that overtake on turn 12 or 13, which everyone was shocked. Even the commentators, Brundle was I've never in my career seen an overtake at this point where Max overtook Bottas in a very unconventional way.
Yeah, and I think he was on a very aggressive strategy, right? It was essential to him to not get stuck behind anybody because he was basically on a 4-stopper, 3-stopper. I forgot how many pit stops he took, but basically I think he was on such an aggressive strategy that he had to go ahead and catch up with these guys in the front. But that was lovely, man. And I think the only other overtake that comes near that was, I mean, it wasn't the overtake, but the defense that Russell put up to Max in that turn where he kind of just let him go ahead and then took back the lead in the very next turn. Man, that was brilliant. Both of those were brilliant.
But because we are talking about Bottas, and I know we are not going to do it again, everyone else, if you think about it, let's take the top 7, for example. Everyone out there were on a good 3-stop/4-stop strategy, and Bottas yesterday was on a 2-stop strategy. And when he got overtaken by Hamilton towards the fag end of the race, he was rightfully true to be annoyed that they should have put him on a 3. Because he was P4 at one point, dude. Bottas Alpha P4, this. He couldn't do this in work for a long time.
He couldn't, yeah. And
So,
yeah, man, it was so awesome. I mean, I'm enjoying watching Bottas in Aston Martin. He's doing so well. And very honestly, I don't know, maybe it's just me, but he looks happier as well in
yeah,
general. Like,
yeah.
he
Swimming naked in Denver and stuff. Yeah.
though it was for a good cause, so like I give him
Yes.
credit for that. He raised some money for charity, but
Yeah.
yeah, I read a tweet about this, which was really cool. Which is, it seems like Bottas loves his ass more than anybody else because he's been showing that off to the world everywhere.
True. Speaking of Bottas doing voluntary work, I want to sort of talk about some stats on the track. Local boy, long-time local boy actually, Alonso, gaining 11 positions yesterday. Man, maximum position gained. Brilliant work.
Yeah.
They never showed all of his 11 overtakes, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna make like YouTube's gonna.
I saw
F1
nothing out of it.
Right? I'm pretty sure like YouTube F1 team's gonna do one of those overtaking shots that they do. That they've done at least over the past year or two. That's where I hope to see it. But yeah, maximum positions gained 11. Superb. Maximum positions lost. Ghost of Mazepin occupied. K-Mag. I don't know how many lost. Like what? 10? 9? 7? 8? Too many to count.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, well, talking about some self-deserved punishments, the other Red Bull, no, not Alpha. I think they got what they deserved. I mean,
the green Red
like
Bull,
they copied the Red Bull, but I guess, yeah. But nothing worked out for them, right? Like it was all a total loss.
Yeah, it's like a Control C, Control V gone wrong. Like they Control C somewhere and then they changed the content on the clipboard before pasting. So they got a different copy out there.
Yeah, it seems like the Aston Martin is like a deformed baby where they got the worst genes from both the parents. No, like
Wrong X, wrong Y.
yeah. And Stroll being Stroll, of course, he was doing some weird shit. I think he almost crashed into Gasly or somebody in the pit lane. And then I guess also spun around, did some weird things. Where did they end up? P18, 19, something like that.
At this point, even the commentators don't care about it.
That
like
much.
As soon as he spun, right? Like as soon as he spun, they were like, "Oh, Stroll's off the track." So on to Russell and Max. I don't like. Okay, they're like nobody cares. And in my head, exactly. And in my head, I'm like, okay, a green car spun, and a green car just went from behind. I'm like, this could be a Sabinella or Stroll being Stroll. And I'm like, at this point, like both spin so much that I'm like confused, like who's doing this?
Yeah. But regardless, Vettel did not too bad. He finished P11. I'm surprised. I'd actually not noticed that till now.
Yeah.
Not too bad for him, I guess. Yeah, almost there into points. But Aston Martin, man, it's weird, this team. Like is it Laurance Stroll who does this? Like, just straight up copying shit? Like, come on, man. Like, they did the same with the Mercedes. They tried to do the same with Red Bull this time. And it's weird. Like, how do they expect that a car that was designed for a completely different engine with different aero would just work on a completely other manufacturer's engine? Like, it feels like it's, it's exactly what we said. Like, the stories write themselves. Yeah. We couldn't had, made this up at all anyhow.
For all the geeky folks out there, right? Sarang, this is the first time you're also hearing this. I feel Laurance Stroll is running a StackOverflow for F1 cars.
That's quite possible.
Just patching things up.
Yeah, man. Just copying code and pasting it into production.
Exactly.
Straight into production.
Exactly. Speaking of dramas, right? lap 64, 2 laps before finish, Latifi overtakes Magnussen, and I have my heart in my mouth. I'm like, this guy, I don't know what's going on in his head, but like, if this guy crashes in, I mean, anyways, Magnussen's been crashing into people today. He's playing bumper cars. This Latifi is known to spin and crash. So,
Of course.
64, 66, Max is there, but like things can change. And at this point, this is when Hamilton's like P4, like he's not let science pass.
P4,
So I'm
yeah. Right.
P1, P2,
Hamilton win.
Mercedes again.
Yeah, no, but I know why probably he didn't crash into K-Mag. And I'll tell you the reason why. Did you notice that Latifi also finished ahead of Albon as well? And my theory is that Papa Latifi paid off Albon to let his kid buy.
Okay.
And since he knew that there was a payment made, so he was careful to try and finish the race ahead of his teammate and break that, very, very long running streak of him always finishing behind his teammate.
Resume item checked.
Yep. Yeah, he can put it on his resume now. Didn't always finish behind my teammate.
True. What else was happening yesterday, man? Like, I think
Lando, man, he was suffering through the race. Like, I think he had. So the commentators were constantly saying that he had hay fever. I don't know where they got that from. But pretty much at least on F1 TV, the commentator reminded that like at least 50 times during the race. I mean, like, okay, man, I get it. Move on now. But
media, why am I not surprised?
Yeah, of course. But basically, he had tonsillitis. What is it? Tonsillitis? I don't know how it's pronounced, but whatever. Basically, his
swelling on his
tonsils was basically his tonsils were swollen. Yeah, I'm not an expert, just saying. so pardon my pronunciation.
While not a big deal, to be honest, I feel like it still sort of ends up affecting your race performance, man.
Of
like
course.
you're going through something when anyways you have to juggle a million things on that track and driving. And on top of that, right, like he was driving brilliant. Like I would have, if you wouldn't have caught this on the radio, like I would have never predicted like he was suffering through something, because like he was having a brilliant day.
Yeah.
In terms of like how McLaren's been 2022, like he was having a brilliant day.
Yeah. I mean, I'm barely able to record this podcast today with a minor cold. But
yeah.
But yeah, kudos to Lando to be able to finish the whole race with that, man.
Two things before we wrap this up. Time and again, we've proved like we are the first source of feedback to F1 TV and F1 because yes, they have somehow coincidence. Sure, you call it coincidence. I call it someone listening to us. They've taken our feedback and done things right. Like the first one, F1 TV, Sarang, because you get it where you are. You're saying they have a picture-in-picture. What we've spoken about for races together.
Yeah, I think it's basically what they do now. It's a picture of live race while they're showing off the restart. And I love this because, man, finally they have solved that issue of losing out on current action while trying to cover an older action, which everybody has already seen. So great kudos on that to, fixing that shit.
And even with that, we haven't seen all 11 overtakes from Alonso. But it's a step in the right direction. So we'll take it.
Step in the right direction. While we are praising them, I have to give one. There was this one moment where Max was like chasing Russell. And during that time, I think this was just before the lap where he actually overtook. At one point, they started showing the crowd while they were on the main straight. I'm like, wait, what the fuck are you guys doing?
But you know what? This was at least better than qualifying, because qualifying, I feel like the crowd and the qualifying sessions got a good 50-50 share. I'm like, they've shown enough crowd during like the qualifying. So I'll take like this lessened amount of, but yeah, this season there's just been too much of crowd. So hey, you guy, yes, we'll see crowd reactions, but not at the cost of like actual overtakes after having seen two cars only for like 20 laps.
That's true.
The other thing, I mean, there's no. It's an open discussion at this point because I think like this is the first time they had like live drone FPV footage sort of thing.
Yeah.
Thoughts on that?
I mean, it's not bad. I guess if they don't like overuse it, I think it has its place. If not always for the live feed, definitely for like highlights and stuff. I think it's not bad. Like they're testing things out. I think it was a good idea to try it out, but I personally didn't enjoy it much because like the fisheye lens kind of warps things and it's not very pleasant to watch. But okay, I mean, I'm not angry about it as such.
I'm with you on that, and for me, I'm like, yeah, sure, let's try it on experiment with FPVs. But I want to see like what value add does it bring in over like a copter cam. Like they've had copters for a while, right? I think this is. I'd probably vote for an FPV over a copter cam just from like an environmental point of view. Like you don't have to fly a chopper for 2 hours, so you save that much fuel and sure, whatever, right? But yeah, it should be a good replacement to the copter cam that's out there.
Yep.
Yeah, man. Overall, I think a good weekend, a good race. Some question marks coming into the engine. We'll see how that progresses over the few races. Merc is definitely back, so it's going to be fun. I hope like Silverstone's probably 4 races out now, so it should be a fun one. You'll probably see Merc dominance there out again. But yeah, back-to-back races next weekend. We'll be back with Monaco. So we'll see you folks there. This is F1 Fanfiction signing off.
Bye-bye.